President Obama spoke directly to an American public increasingly wary of any military action in Syria. Addressing concerns articulated by citizens and lawmakers alike, he described the dire consequences for America of ignoring Syrian President Assad's actions. But there are also, according to President Obama, encouraging signs on the diplomatic front. ABC's chief foreign correspondent Terry Moran is in Beirut with full coverage of the crisis in Syria. Terry.
Dan, when a president speaks about the possibility of taking America to war, he's addressing not just the nation, but the world. I'm here in Beirut, a city that has been wrecked by war twice in my lifetime, in Lebanon, a country where the Syrian civil war is already spilling over, refugees pouring in, the economy staggering, violence spreading. And just a couple of hours from where I'm standing, Syria and the horrors there. People here in the Middle East who have seen so much of war over the decades are a lot like Americans. They are skeptical about this crisis. They're anxious about it. And so tonight, in a make-or-break moment for him, President Obama addressed all these audiences, trying to clear things up, make his case, and lead. President Obama strode down the Great Hall of the White House to talk to the American people about war.
Tonight I want to talk to you about Syria.
He had taken that long walk once before, under very different circumstances, announcing the killing of Osama bin Laden.
Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden.
There was no victory in his demeanor tonight.
Now, I know that after the terrible toll of Iraq and Afghanistan, the idea of any military action, no matter how limited, is not going to be popular.
Tonight, the nation saw a president struggling to convince the country of the rightness of a dangerous course of action, a country that has shown skepticism towards a new war.
We cannot afford to turn Syria into another Iraq.
My short answer to this is not no, but hell no.
In the face of such strong opposition from the left and the right, Obama sounded almost defensive at times as he tried to respond to his critics.
As some members of Congress have said, there's no point in simply doing a pinprick strike in Syria. Let me make something clear. The United States military doesn't do pinpricks.
And again, the president tried to reassure Americans about what his Syria policy is not.
I will not put American boots on the ground in Syria. I will not pursue an open-ended action like Iraq or Afghanistan. I will not pursue a prolonged air campaign like Libya or Kosovo. This would be a targeted strike to achieve a clear objective: deterring the use of chemical weapons and degrading Assad's capabilities.
This crisis is in part of the president's own making. A year ago, he somewhat offhandedly at a press conference drew a red line for Syrian President Bashar al-Assad and for himself.
A red line for us is we start seeing a whole bunch of chemical weapons moving around or being utilized. That would change my calculus. That would change my equation.
Then came August 21st this year, and the terrible images, the unspeakable suffering, the dead children. The red line, the U.S. and its allies believe, has been crossed. Obama's calculus would now change. But how?
When dictators commit atrocities, they depend upon the world to look the other way until those horrifying pictures fade from memory. But these things happened. The facts cannot be denied.
Tonight, he sought to explain his sometimes confusing leadership on this issue.
America's not the world's policeman. Terrible things happen across the globe, and it is beyond our means to right every wrong. But when, with modest effort and risk, we can stop children from being gassed to death and thereby make our own children safer over the long run, I believe we should act.
In Syria, meanwhile, government troops continue to bombard rebel positions in the suburbs of Damascus. And Bashar al-Assad, he was winning the day, putting the U.S. president on the wrong diplomatic footing again. He is a strong survivor, but his strength is deceptive. He doesn't look like your typical ruthless tyrant.
You feel sorry for the life that has been lost, but you don't feel guilty.
That soft, lisping voice.
No government in the world kills its people unless it's led by a crazy person.
The weak chin. He sure doesn't look like this guy. Or this guy.
انظروا إلى هذه السياسة.
But while other Arab dictators are toppled, dead, or both, Bashar al-Assad has proven to be far more tenacious, wily, and maddeningly successful than U.S. officials guessed during this high-stakes 2.5-year-long showdown with Barack Obama.
I have no doubt that the Assad regime will soon discover that the forces of change cannot be reversed and that human dignity cannot be denied. Assad will leave power. It's not a question of if, but when. We will not tolerate the use of chemical weapons against the Syrian people or the transfer of those weapons to terrorists. The world is watching. We will hold you accountable.
Yet here Assad still is, taunting the American public in his interview this week with Charlie Rose of PBS.
Nobody expected 11th of September. So you cannot expect. It's difficult for anyone to tell you what is going to happen. It's an area where everything is on the brink of explosion. You have to expect everything.
President Obama tonight hardly mentioned his adversary. Instead, he tried to explain why he believes military action is necessary, but then he hit the pause button again, embracing a new Russian proposal to bring Assad's chemical weapons under international control.
This initiative has the potential to remove the threat of chemical weapons without the use of force, particularly because Russia is one of Assad's strongest allies.
Hey, guys. So in the end, this was not so much a case for war. It was a plea for understanding, for support, and for time.
Our ideals and principles, as well as our national security, are at stake in Syria, along with our leadership of a world where we seek to ensure that the worst weapons will never be used.
It's a tough sell in America and around the world. The next steps now are diplomatic as the United States, Russia, and other powers try to hammer out a deal at the UN that will verifiably strip Assad of his chemical weapons. Does that sound familiar? This crisis is far from over.